Hang on to the end, and I'll be telling you why you're richer in human connection, but poorer in privacy. So will you be richer or poorer in the Philippines? Primarily, I've got to say, you're going to be richer in money. How much further does your pension go? Well, let's look at the main costs that you'll be dealing with. So if you're renting, I saw 2 places today in Dumaguete advertised on Facebook, and Facebook is the medium that is used here. It's slightly unusual, but that is where everything is done on Facebook. It's the Philippines thing. One place was 45,000. It had 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. It's quite an old sort of build, old style sort of Filipino place. Didn't look that sort of modern, but it was available. It was big. They wanted the renter to take on a year's lease. That sometimes is negotiable. I won't go into massive detail of everything here because there's a lot of topics involved in this chat. There's another place down the road, and that was 25,000. And that was beautiful looking, very clean, very modern, big as well, had lots of space, and I couldn't see any neighbours, unlike the other place. If I was going to go down to Dumaguete and I wanted to be in a place, stay in somewhere local, some kind of Airbnb or something like that. So you need to be here, you need to jump on the opportunity quick, use Facebook. The only thing is they might want to tie you up in a year's lease. That's not uncommon. You can negotiate it. Don't do more than a year's lease, because after a year you'll kind of know if it's suitable or not, and after a year you'll be making preparations to move to somewhere better that you might have found, or decided you want somewhere different, or you might be building a place. You're looking at 45, 50,000 for the bigger places, usually the more modern places, and 15 to 25 for the sort of single rooms or the small places. This place on at 25 I thought was extremely good. Is rare in my experience, but you need to be there, need to jump on it. Eating out here is up to you really, how you want to play it. You can eat in the sort of standard globalized brand places, your pizzerias and your rib shacks and stuff like that. That's all here, unless you're out in the province. Even in the small towns they have these sort of places, your burgers and stuff like that. Burgers you're going to get for like 350 pesos, stuff like that, with fries and maybe a drink. You can pay a bit more for the steak. If you go to sort of a Texas Roadhouse steak, you're going to pay somewhere around, I don't know, with the starters and the main, somewhere around between 1,300 and 1,800 pesos, I would have thought, something like that. That's a very westernized style meal. If you're going to eat westernized food and not cook at home, then obviously you're facing costs that are pretty similar to they might be at home in the West. So, again, if you want to eat more locally, have stuff that's not really the caranderia, the street food, it would probably poison you unless you've got an iron stomach. You might want to just go somewhere in between that level of street food and the westernized places. There's plenty of places available, and you'll maybe pay 600 pesos, something like that, for your food. So that's going out, eating out, perfectly nice places to go. Coffee. Everybody goes out for a coffee, don't they? At least once a day, normally, particularly if you're retired. The premium coffee places will charge you 200 pesos a cup. The Starbucks, I think, or the similar brands are charging about 150. And then you can go to the perfectly good Filipino-run coffee places, like real coffee shops, and pay around 100. So, just depends what you want. You can live locally and you can pay less. So regarding electricity bills and other utility bills, electricity, you're looking between $30 to $40. Your internet and all your other stuff as well, all in, probably looking around sort of another $50. If your own place and you've got solar, then obviously it's going to be significantly less. Private healthcare. So if you're from the States and not from the UK, and you're not used to socialised medicine where it's free when you actually have the treatment, and remains free in the sense that you've already paid for it and your national insurance directly deducted from your income. I went to St. Luke's the other day and I had a couple of minor dermatological procedures, got seen straight away, absolutely 5-star attitude from the staff and 5-star treatment as well. I was in and out. I didn't book anything in advance. I just turned up. I went up to the office of the dermatologist. I went in, told him what I needed. It was doable. Laser, everything fine. And it was 22,000 pesos, all in, for what I considered was an excellent service. Coming from a country where you've got socialised medicine and maybe 10 million people coming in the last few years, it's very hard to get seen. You're waiting months for anything to get done. I'm quite happy to pay that. If you are carrying medical conditions, you might want to consider living nearer to the cities, the big cities like Cebu or Manila. Although having said that, there's great hospitals in places like Bacolod, even down in Dumaguete, and they're probably not very specialised and for the very serious stuff, any big operations and stuff like that. You probably want to be around either Manila or Cebu, possibly Davao as well. So you might want to consider that. You don't have to live there. So for example, people in Negros Oriental, they're not a million miles from Cebu, they can get there pretty quick. So, you need to be in and around a place if you are carrying medical issues with you. Again, you could, if you're really concerned and you want some insurance, probably Blue Cross would be your best bet, or one of your first go-to providers that you might want to look at. And the other thing that you're definitely going to be richer in money for is domestic help. So you could employ a Filipino lady to come 3 times a week or come every day, or even have a sort of living in or really close by, and you could pay somewhere around 400 pesos a day, something like that. They're talking about putting the minimum wage up to 600 or somewhere around 600. Well, they haven't done it yet. Then you're looking at really much more affordable domestic help if you need it. And if you're looking for someone who's just going to come in twice a week and do bits and pieces, that's absolutely fine. And it's all achievable. There's plenty of willing hands around. So let's have a look for poorer in the things that you always took for granted. What would you be poorer in? Well, here's a simple one, and it harks back a little bit to anybody with sort of medical conditions, or probably even people who are quite fit and like to walk a good walk in the morning or something like that. The walkability, the pavements here, unless you're in somewhere like BGC or IT Park in Cebu or somewhere like that, the pavements are disastrous, and you've really got to watch yourself. You could easily break an ankle if you're not watching where you're going. I'm particularly careful, and I always wear my glasses when I'm walking outside, because you cannot trust the sidewalks at all. They're going to be broken up, and they're going to have suddenly there'll be a massive hole opens up, not necessarily with any warning sign up either. So you've got to be really careful. So actual walkability is something you're going to be poorer in. People go to the malls, not because they love horrible globalized brands, but because it's cool and you can walk a couple of miles. So I see malls in a completely different way now, in a different context. They're relief from the relentless heat. There's a walkability aspect as well. Public transport, is there public transport? Yes, well in the big cities there is. In Manila, you've got the train system. I went on the train the other day, the overland train that goes across the city. My goodness, what a difference to being in Europe. It's clean, it's orderly. They're not particularly new trains, but they are well kept. The people are polite, well behaved, and you don't see the madness that you might see on public transport in the West. They haven't had the influx of people who are so culturally different and unsuited to the way that they live, that there's disruption on every street corner. So it was a much nicer experience. So trains, if you're in the cities, very good. Buses, they don't exist, they've only got the jeepneys. The positive thing is the fact that there are now, and it was originally Uber, but they sold out to a company called Grab, and then Grab has a competitor called InDrive, and there's also now in Manila here, there's the electric cabs as well, the V cabs, and they're Vietnamese made. They're really nice, they're electric, and there's about 10,000 of them in the city, and I think there's another 10,000 coming. And you're talking about $3 to $4 for a journey. So it's really just not worth worrying about. Just jump in that cab, get the app on your phone, and it's really made in the last, compared with 10 years ago here, where just arriving at the airport, you'd get into a fight, literally of fisticuffs, getting from the airport to your hotel, because there'd be somebody trying to do you over in a sort of in the sense that they'd be trying to con money out of you. That is a tremendous improvement. So you can get these grab cabs from the airport, you can book things in advance, it's massively improved. Consumer protection here, forget it. If you get bad service, firstly you don't want to be that guy, Mr. Grumpy, Mr. Moaning all the time. But let your wife do it, or let your partner do it, or a Filipino friend, let them complain. I guarantee what you do get is probably an apology or a recognition that something wasn't hot when it was served, or it was something didn't work, but you won't get compensation. There's no compensation culture here. It's just a live with it culture. It's all part of the way of life here. It's culturally not present, so get used to that. The internet provision outside of the cities can be a little bit ropey. That would be the other thing you might be a bit poorer in. I actually have quite a good experience with just using if there's no internet in the building I'm in, just if I can get a signal, using the Globe signal, which is the local phone network service, and connections can be perfectly adequate. So that's an option. Richer in time. So obviously it's a slower pace of life here. You don't rush everywhere. You take long lunches and tasks. Do you remember if you used to live in the West and you don't now? You get up on a Saturday and you've got a list, haven't you? Post office, maybe the bank, this, that and the other, car, garage, something. I think you'd expect to do that in a couple of hours, wouldn't you? You can forget that. That's not going to happen. So tasks that would normally take one day, it doesn't matter if you're retired, does it? They're going to take maybe 3 days to do, or 4. That is just something you have to live with. It's just the way it is, and I don't mind particularly. You need 2 suitcases when you arrive. Got your stuff in one. You've got the other ones full of patience. That's how it is. So in terms of convenience, you're going to be poorer. Let me explain. So there's long queues almost always everywhere. If you go to the bank, if you go to the shops, and sometimes they look like they're not moving. Don't make the fatal mistake that I always do, and I never learn my lesson. I'll go into Jollibee or wherever, and I go in what I think is a moving queue. It doesn't move, so I jump to the shorter queue. That till closes down. I go back to the queue. It's twice as long. Don't switch lanes, boys and girls. It's tremendously bureaucratic and tremendously slow. So I've yet to enjoy the experience, but I know what's going to happen of opening a bank account. So I'm just waiting for my ACR card now, and not particularly looking forward to it. But there again, be patient as heck, and you'll get through to it. So banking could be quite frustrating, tremendously unreliable, and then sometimes you just have to resubmit stuff. Again, I've been through a process recently where I went to the government office, went through all the procedures, made all the applications, did all the photocopies, gave it to them, went back for the second appointment. They'd lost everything. I had to redo everything while I was there, and then reapply, and then go back again another day. Big suitcase full of patients. Deliveries aren't necessarily going to be when they say they're going to be. I've been using Lazada recently, which is a sort of an Amazon-style service out here, and they'll tell you a week, but actually it turns out to be like 3 weeks for stuff. So, don't be surprised, don't be upset. You're going to be richer in human connection. There's going to be friendly neighbours, lovely people. They're going to call you by your name. They're going to things that you probably don't have at all in the West. Because obviously when you're a young person, you're outgoing, you're gregarious, you might be a bit extrovert. Then obviously as you get older, you become a family unit, then you become a bit more withdrawn as that family dissipates for one reason or another. Maybe it's empty nest or divorce, and then suddenly you find yourself on your own and you become quite introverted. Well, here suddenly there's an outpouring of friendliness and joy, really. So you kind of have to readapt again. That's not a bad thing to adapt to. And of course there's a family orientated culture. So if you if you're coming here as a single man, that probably won't last too long. You'll find a lovely lady. Then family. It's a family-orientated culture, and I'm not saying family comes first and foremost above you, but it will certainly become on a level with you. So suddenly there'll be 5 people in your house, or you'll go somewhere where there's 20 people, and it's just perfectly normal, perfectly natural, and you're all the better for it. Kids are polite and say hello to you. They're full of deference for older people. It's their culture. They've been brought up very well. There's still a good Catholic Christian culture here, which has, in general, makes really polite children of the kids. So that's something really nice here. Don't be surprised if people say good morning to you, young and old. It's just something that is here, and it's something that's really nice. There's a community spirit here. There's always little fiestas going on, neighborhood fiestas, national fiestas. If you look on the website for your local barangay, which is your neighborhood, your council, you'll probably find several fiestas, plus the national fiestas, and that all involves a day off normally. So suddenly you'll be driving down the road, you turn left, road shut. There's a massive party in being planned, and they closed it off to rig up a sound system and this and that and the other. So that's nice. It's social, it's sociable, and that's something that's quite common. And the other thing, it's not such an anonymous culture here. You'll go into that bank or that shop local, and they'll remember your name. And they use the tradition here is to use you, and don't be shocked, you haven't been knighted. They'll call you Sir, whatever your name is, Sir Bob, Sir, blah blah blah. If they only know your apellido, your surname, they'll call you by Sir Jones or Sir, in the beginning, you might want to be that sort of shocked, bleeding heart white liberal. Oh, don't call me Sir. No deference to me. Don't bother. It's not like that. They're brought up to say that. So I now say, if it's a taxi driver, I say, hello, Sir John. That's the culture. So it's perfectly nice. You are going to be poorer in privacy. There's going to be curious neighbours in your business. Probably quite a nice thing. Not always, but get used to it. That's something that's going to happen. Noise. If you love noise, you're going to fucking love the Philippines, because they love noise. And if you want to go to somewhere really loud, go to a Filipino wedding, and moreover the wedding reception. I mean, it's absolutely deafening and relentless, and it's joyful. You can't argue with it. It's great. Just get used to that as well. Karaoke, that's another thing. You're over the road. I was living down in Cabullo for a while recently, and the guy opposite discovered that he could afford a karaoke machine, went out and got it, and he whipped the ass out of it for about 3 weeks. So from the mid-morning through to the late afternoon, luckily not until the night time, he was just hammering it, all those 80s hits. They call OPM, original Philippine music, which is kind of like sort of Chicago type stuff and things like that from those days. Yeah, very nice, but unfortunately not everybody can sing. And when it gets to about 11 p.m. at night and Grandad, gets hold of the mic, it's loud. So karaoke, that's a thing. Enjoy that. Roosters. Where to even begin? So I was on a subdivision down in Laguna when I was there, and I think a lot of the people there have never lived in a subdivision before, which is just an American word for housing estate. So people are in close proximity to each other. But I think a lot of people who went there, my wife had a theory that they had one family member who was buying the house, and they're actually from out in the province, out in the countryside, and they've moved into this house on this estate, this subdivision, but have continued their country lifestyle and have got the rooster in the front garden. It's manacled up by the foot. It's probably there. He's breeding it for as a fighting cog. You know, they're going to fight. These they are fighting roosters here. It's like one of the national sports. And he's at the front of the house, and he will crow sometimes from 3 a.m. onwards. And then the other thing is they've probably got a dog as well. So the rooster wakes up the dog, and the dog starts barking. And the dogs are either specifically untrained, or they don't even know about the fact that you can train a dog and get it to shut up, unless somebody obviously breaks into the place, which is what ideally you want, isn't it? You want to be alerted when somebody comes in who's a stranger, but none of that, mate. So dog just barks all the time, the roosters just bark all the time. So that's up to you to be careful where you choose to live. You know, we have a choice, don't we, us Westerners, usually. Richer in lifestyle, beaches, the nature, a bit of hiking if you want to do it. It's just a beautiful country. There's islands to explore. There's always something to see, always something going on. It's a tropical climate, which is lovely when there's no monsoon season or typhoon season, once that's out of the way. There's always fresh fruit and vegetables available at the markets at very, very cheap cost. And as I mentioned earlier, eating out is affordable. So you are richer in lifestyle, without a doubt. You're going to be poorer in predictability. And by that I mean brownouts, or in my country we just call them blackouts, the electricity cuts for no reason. Depends where you are. I saw some moaning down in Dumaguete lately. Apparently it's got worse, the amount of brownouts. I've also spent some time down in Mindanao, right down in the south, and the brownouts are not as bad as they are in Dumaguete, but they are fairly frequent. But you just kind of get used to it. Make sure your phone and your iPads or whatever are charged up all the time. Bit of a thing if it's really hot, and obviously you want aircon, but that's just part of living here. Heavy rain now, it's monsoon season. Doesn't really bother me. I'm in a nice little condo. No problem at all. Typhoons are coming. It's been my first real experience of a typhoon. I was a bit late once in Boracay. I left Boracay, I think it was quite late on in the year, and I remember the palm trees were already bending over. So typhoons, they're going to be a thing, and traffic. And traffic really, as somebody pointed out the other day, it's all about timing. You know, you don't have to go out in the rush hour, do you? Find out when the quieter times are. There might not be a quieter time, but there probably is, and that's when you should travel. And choose your times. So, for example, I don't, as much as it's lovely to see all the families out on what they call Family Day, which is Sunday. So if you go to a mall on a Sunday, everybody and their dogs out, and all the kids are walking. They've come from church, and they're all outside, and it's lovely to see. But it's not your ideal shopping day, is it? So I love it when Monday comes around, and I can just go to Ayala Mall or wherever and just do my things at my own pace. So just to sum up, you're going to be poorer if you try to recreate a Western lifestyle. So many expats spend heavily buying imported foods, drinking in Western bars, buying imported products, living like you're still in the West, really. And that can quickly erase much of the cost advantage. So you're richer if you adapt and you eat locally, you shop at local markets. I would recommend learning a little Filipino, a little Tagalog, which is the basic language. If you have some Spanish, it's a big help. Gives you verbs, nouns, adjectives already. Gives you a foothold into the language, certainly on a superficial level anyway. Use the local transport if you can bear using the jeepneys, although they're rarer now, particularly in Manila. There's trains as well, as I mentioned earlier. And except that things work differently here. There are some hidden costs. So there's visas and visa renewals. I've recently done my 13A visa, which is what you're entitled to apply for if you're married to a Filipina. Gives you right to remain and reside. That cost me, and I use JRC. I would recommend JRC or Heidi or somebody like that who is able to assist you. They come to the government offices with you. They take you through the whole process. There's somebody by your side all the time, which is great. And that cost me 37,000 pesos. And I believe the actual, if you did it yourself, I think it's somewhere around 18. don't try and do it yourself. Air conditioning is a hidden cost. I had it running all the time over the last couple of weeks, and it bumped up my electricity bill to around 5,000. Again, not a massive burden compared with living in the West, especially like me coming from the country that's got the most expensive energy in the Western world. So it's like not even a third of what I would be paying in the UK, for example. Currency exchange fluctuations. So at the moment we're riding the crest of a wave in exchange rates, and by us I mean Americans and the British. I think the pound's coming in at somewhere around 81 on the exchange, and the dollar's right up there above 60. So, this can change, obviously. There are concerns at the moment about national debt in not just the UK, although the UK is a particularly bad example and could be facing a currency crisis at some point, and that will affect everybody. The States has got a similar kind of problem. Probably, as I say, the UK is the worst example. So there's risks. There's always risks. There's existential risk. There's geopolitical risks. That's life. So I think my main closing thought would be living in the Philippines doesn't automatically make you richer. It depends on what you measure. If it's just wealth and just the size of your bank balance, the answer may be yes. But if wealth also means time, sunshine, freedom, adventure, the ability to exercise more, make yourself fitter, then many retirees discover they've become richer in ways that you never expected. On the other hand, if you value perfect infrastructure, predictable, reliable systems and familiar comforts, then you may feel poorer despite spending less. So thanks for watching. Great if you could comment. Would love some engagement. It's Cano Life. I'm signing out. Thanks a lot. Ciao.